Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to reintroduce you to myself, Jay Gladstone, and introduce some of you, I'm sure, for the first time to my, not my broadcast colleague, because we're not really broadcasting, we're kind of recording this.
We're not even really colleagues either.
No, that's true. We're not even really associated. I don't think we've met before. But I might be wrong. Maybe we did, you know? The wrestling industry, it's smaller than you'd think. We probably bumped into each other once or twice. This is all irrelevant. People didn't tune in just to hear us, you know, chat shit.
I don't know about you, but I think they did for me. My name is Stinky Clark Daniels.
That's right, he's Clark Daniels. I was going to introduce him, but I was taking too long to get around to it, and I like the initiative he took right here to introduce himself. I admire that.
Ugh.
Clark Daniels, why don't you tell him a little about yourself?
If you don't know me, fuck you. I ran a company called Pittsburgh Grappling Company for about 20 years, but then I had to sell it to this asshole who now owns it. He's not an asshole, I liked him a lot.
What's his name?
His name is Corey Galloway, and he's having a show in a couple weeks or a couple days. I don't know when this is going up.
Wow, that's pretty exciting. I'm glad you shared that with us. My name is Jay Gladstone. I am the voice of the AS Power Rankings, more or less. Those are written down, so there isn't really a voice to those, but I'm a voice, and I'm a voice to several things, and I write those as well. And yeah, as my colleague Clark pointed out just now, we're gonna be doing a little bit of, we're gonna be chewing the fat. We're gonna be tossing some info your way. We're gonna be dropping some sports analysis. That's what you've been starved for, isn't it? That's what you've all wanted.
I know, it's what I was starved for.
Honestly, yeah. No, I think this is a cool thing that we're doing. We're gonna run down the card of this upcoming PGC Kiwami Pittsburgh Grappling Company number 10. We're gonna discuss some of the events that our man Corey has planned. Some of the showcases of his talent, and of, you know, the Armbar Society's talent as a whole, as I'm sure we'll cover. You know, it's a real super show in the truest sense of the word.
It is definitely the biggest show this company has ever produced. Before or after the reboot.
Yeah, our man Corey sparing no expenses, bringing in some fucking top names. You know, he broke his piggy bank for this one, I would say.
Yeah, I don't know how he did it.
I mean, ours is not to wonder how. Ours is to wonder who. Right? Am I right? I am right.
Who are you?
I'm Jay Gladstone.
Oh, okay. Go on.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's get right into it. Like, do you want to? We should. I feel like probably the best way to go through this is, you know, in a match by match kind of way. We can talk about various matches, various participants, various individuals' histories within PGC. I think there's a lot to cover. It's an interesting show.
It certainly is.
And let's dive right into this first match here. We got the opening match, the Stained Glass Championship Battle Royale. You know, what do we think of this one, Clark?
Well, it's new belt, just introduced, as in this is literally the crowning of the first champion. I don't know how many people are in it. I don't know if anyone knows how many people are in it. Do you know how many people are in it?
No, I don't know anything. I don't know who's in it. I don't know how many who's are in it. It's a complete mystery.
It's going to be a real fun opening match, I think, to show off the lower end and the middle end of the card.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, it's good. First Battle Royale in PGC history. It should be very exciting.
Yeah, that is correct.
I have some notes here, actually. I wrote down some information. This is purely conjectural, you know. I have no inside info. I'm not actually associated with Corey Galloway. We've spoken once or twice, but our relationship doesn't extend beyond that. But I'm a big fan of PGC. I love independent wrestling, and I've been keeping a close eye on these shows, and I look back over the past results, and I've compiled some little predictions. I have some notions about who may or may not be in the match and what their chances might be.
And I can tell you how wrong you are when you say that.
I would love that. I would enjoy that a lot. Clark,
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop a name at you.
Yeah.
After losing to Zoe Pierce on PGC number 3, Ariel Bridges has picked up 2 straight wins. She beat El Tic Tac on PGC 5, and then since then, most recently, PGC 9, I'm sure everybody remembers, she got the huge win over Alexis Horrible. Ariel Bridges, she's a fucking workhorse, right? Like, she's been having just great matches, you know, the fans
great
are really
matches, great results in the last 6 months or so. Absolute turnaround, I would say, this year.
True. No, completely true. This is, I would say, so far, absolutely the best year of Ariel's career.
And I would argue, with that win over Wellbore, she will not be in this Battle Royale, because she's too fucking good for it.
You raise a good point. Yeah, no, I may be batting too high. I mean, it is the lower card championship, the opening match championship, as it's been described. But
as it was announced as, yes.
Yes. But yeah, just looking at these other possibilities, Michelle Rocksmith sitting on 1 win in her only singles match. She's lost a couple times before, but neither time I believe she was. That's not true. She was pinned once by Arthur Bernard, got that pin back.
Immediately back.
Yeah, no, straight away, wasted
him.
no time. Fucking crushed him. Yeah, so Rocksmith, I think, she's on the rise. She's in the perfect position to be in a match like this.
Absolutely. I would not discount her being in this match. This could be the momentum boost she needs.
Certainly could. And I'm gonna do everybody's favorite thing to say on commentary is, and speaking of thing, and I'm gonna drop one of those right now. I'm a pretty tenured commentator at this point. And speaking of stained glass, Justin Glass is up 2 wins, undefeated in AES. Hasn't had the kind of exposure you would think of for a guy with a record like that. He hasn't really reached the highs that you may expect. So I think this title could be a good thing to kind of boost him up a little bit.
Listen, I worked with Glass back in like the 90s or whenever I was alive. Whenever he was alive. He is desperate to gain any sort of spotlight. I would not put it past him to try and get into this Battle Royale. Even though I think, personally, he's too good for it. I would not put it past him.
No, you raise a good point.
He is a slippery fucker.
He is. He is indeed a slippery fucker.
Unkillable fucker.
I could kill him. I bet I could. But that's neither here nor there. Zoe Pierce. You know Zoe Pierce, don't you?
She gave me a wedgie when I first met her.
I really like Zoe Pierce.
Oh, I adore her. She's a fucking bitch, and I love her.
Zoe Pierce is not so much on the way up. I mean, on the grand scheme of things, absolutely on the way up. She's having a rise this year like almost no one else. But her most recent match was her first loss in PGC, lost to Dusty Volkoganov.
That is correct. Who, coincidentally, got his first win.
True, that's absolutely true.
In PGC.
Dostiev, in fact, might be a candidate for this match.
Absolutely.
Kind of steadily climbing up. Like, this year, I think, since National League Wrestling Day, Dusty Volkoganov is undefeated, so he's having that steady ascent after a rocky start. Zoe had a steady start, and now she's having this kind of rocky middle period. Both of them could be in the match, and if they're both in the match together, there's no telling what could happen.
Out of the means production will be seized once more. As in, she's gonna fucking steal his balls.
What was that?
She's gonna steal his balls, you know? She grabbed his testicles that one time.
Man, I'm losing you, Clark.
Gave him a good pull. You know?
Not sure if that's on my end or your end.
What?
You're cutting in and out, my friend.
Fuck this shitty technology.
Hey, you know what? We should cancel it. We should go back to the Stone Age. We should smack some bricks together. That's what I think.
Yeah!
Back in my day, that was entertainment.
A balls hurt. Anyways, you got another name?
I got one last name. You want to guess who this is?
Me.
It's not you, Clark.
Damn it.
I wish it was you, but I'm actually not disappointed with who it is. Rosa the Giant just scored a huge win over Dazzling
Oh yeah,
Mercury,
he stole
which puts
someone's
him-
balls too.
Oh yeah, no, he snatched him right off him. I'm not sure if that's metaphorical or physical. I certainly hope it's the former.
I hope it's the latter. I think that'd be real nice.
Rosa the Giant, 2 wins in both his singles matches in PGC. He's doing really well right now. I don't think he's someone people tend to think of as a sort of world title level competitor, which is, at the discretion of the man in charge, I suppose. But, if we're going to lend him some sort of credit, maybe not the full credit he deserves, but some windfall for the wins he's been picking up, I think this Battle Royale could be the perfect place for it.
Rosa the Giants. You know what I said about Justin Glass being a slippery motherfucker? I lied. The slipperiest motherfucker is Rosa the Giant.
How slippery we're talking here.
This man cheats every second of his life, and I can't help but respect it. However,
Go ahead.
However, I think his ambitions go much higher than an opening bout contest. I think he wants the world title, and I think after being a former world champion and Dazzling Mercury, he believes that is the push he needs.
Yeah, I think you could be right. I mean, the stained glass title is named as such because it's fragile. It's not without its drawbacks. I think there are certainly members of the roster who would refuse participation in this opening match, which makes things very interesting. It's not that certain people will be desperate to get in, certain people accept it, certain people will be desperate not to be involved in the match, and it makes the playing field very difficult to predict.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of it.
It is. No, it's an intriguing title. Now, titles are one thing, but if we're looking at this next match, we gotta think about the bare essence of professional wrestling. And Clark, what would you say is the bare essence of professional wrestling?
Light tubes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, huge buff men beating the shit out of each other, but light tubes is a valid answer as well. Just blood is an option. Just a complete disregard for another person's well-being is another. It was Vifa Magni versus Shin Nick Gage. That's what we're looking at here on paper. What are your predictions for this match, Clark?
My prediction is that there will be a pool of blood in the middle of the ring, and there will be 2 hours stopping the show in order to clean it up. And in that pool of blood, Oofsphere Magni will be pinning Shin Nick Gage.
That's a bold prediction, yeah. Shin Nick Gage, of course, is something of a mystery. He hasn't wrestled much in the last 10,000 years. He's been sealed away in wrestler jail, which seems, ring rust is a possible risk there.
There is no such thing as ring rust with Shin Nick Gage. That being is only built for death and destruction.
I mean, that's true. That's undeniably true. But standing across the ring from him, we got Vifa Magni, who, I got some more Jay Gladstone facts here. Has only been pinned twice in the almost 5 years he's been active in AES by Roso Flavio and by Leon Black. Aside from that, it's like clean wins across the board. His record in PGC is actually a little more mixed than you would expect. It's 2 losses in a triple threat and a 6-man tag. 1 win in another 6-man tag. So this is actually his first singles match in the company, which I think is quite exciting. I think if anyone on this show has something to prove to the upper management about their card placement, I think this is the guy.
Absolutely. And that's why I believe he's going to murder Shin Nick Gage. He's going to destroy the unkillable being that is Shin Nick Gage.
Yeah, no, it's it's a story that's been told 1,000 times. It's the hometown hero, the company man versus the outsider, and Isvefer, of course, Scandinavian kind of cultist, sort of weirdo. He's not really a company man. He's not really a capitalist by any stretch of the imagination.
I don't think he has any sort of economic position. I don't think he's thought about economics in his life.
No, I don't think Isvefer votes. I don't think he would.
No, he
I
wouldn't.
don't think Shane Nick Gage votes either.
No.
So this match, it won't be a political one, which I like. It's a personal match. It's a big strong guy and a big strong guy, and they've both been to hell, and they've both come back, and now they're gonna punch each other in a wrestling ring.
And hopefully, if we're lucky, one of them will go back to hell.
That would be ideal. No, you gotta wake your ass up, old man, because
I'm awake. I was cleaning out my nose.
Oh, I see. I thought that was
You
a
see,
snore.
I'm old. This is the bit. I make weird noises.
Oh yeah, old people do that. Old man, what can you tell me about the amateur?
Well, it's weird how he's called the amateur, right? Like, he's been a professional for, like, 3 or 4 years now. Right?
Yeah, no, he certainly has.
He's been paid. That automatically disqualifies him from being an amateur. Why would they just call him the professional? Anyways, he's a very good wrestler. He's held the Best of the Big Boys Championship since it was created.
That's true.
He's defended it in numerous federations in the Armbar Air Society. I believe his last fight was in AES Melee? Correct me if I'm wrong. You're the one with all the info.
Yep, no, I believe you're right. That was against Big Tex Johnson. It was a hell of a match. I think match of the night, according to most people. Mm-hmm. And that, I believe, was his 13th title defense. So he is now surpassed.
Go ahead.
He's surpassed Tanaka Asano, who won title reign of the year in 2017. I think after the bouts he's had with the likes of Derry the Cow and an absolute, barn burner to make a little
match
joke
had
about
no right to be as good as it was.
No, blew people away completely. When I said barn burner just now, I was doing a joke about the fact that Derry the Cow, his name is Cow, and cows live in those.
Think you can milk him?
But that aside, matches with the likes of Man Mountain Rudo.
That's the biggest friend of his career, by far.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Biggest offense he's ever had.
I think he has to be a frontrunner for title reign of the year right now. Unless, I think Izzy Malik is the only people who could really give him a run for that claim.
It's hard to disagree, my friend.
And, yeah. We gotta talk about his opponent, though, I want to say this is the biggest challenge that the man known as Milk has ever faced, but in good conscience I can't, because Dazzling Mercury was Milk's first singles win on PGC 5 in a complete,
complete domination, shocker. Complete upset, I would have to say.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely manhandled him, I believe.
And yeah, the fact that he won that match, since then he's picked up another win, and that's placed him in contention for the Amateurs title. It's cool. It's really cool. The way Milk has kind of steadily climbed through the ranks and kind of climbed into the public consciousness is just a very exciting thing for me.
I believe if anyone can beat the Amateur, it's going to be Milk.
I would disagree given the Amateur's track record, but I think, it's going to take a different kind of competitor to beat the Amateur finally, and Milk has proven that up against, when he's the smaller dog in the fight, he can really pull things off. Like, I really think this could be it. This could be, there's a not slim chance that this is the end of the Amateur's, historic reign.
For sure. I'm putting my money on Milk. I think people have underestimated him, and I believe the Amateur will underestimate him as well. I believe this will be the Milk's time, and he will become the Best of the Big Boys champion.
I'm gonna stick with my prediction of the Amateur for now, because I think he loves that title too much, and I don't think he's accomplished exactly what he set out to quite yet. But I'm not ruling Milk out. I'm not even beginning to rule Milk out. I wouldn't dream of it. But do you wanna hear me do my AES commentator bit again, where I say, and speaking of a thing?
No, but you're gonna do it anyways.
I am gonna do it anyways. And speaking of the Amateur, the Amateur's mentor, Oseko, we've learned, The Oseko Everywhere system is in full effect. Oseko will be appearing in PGC for the very first time.
That is true. For the first time, she will appear in PGC. Will it be the last time? Oh, I don't know. She lives like 5 minutes away.
Yeah, no, it's interesting, but it's not fully surprising. I think some people have expected it for a while. You know, Oseko got her start in independent wrestling. She loves independent wrestling. She is a regular competitor in companies like Scrapyard. And just even beyond that, on a personal level, I would say Oseko and Corey Galloway, they share some clear principles, if you will. I can see why Corey would perhaps reach out to Oseko or vice versa in getting this match made.
That is certainly true. It is bizarre that she hasn't appeared before until now. I don't know who she's facing. Does anyone know who she's facing? No. This is an open challenge.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you would like to make a guess as to who her opponent might be.
Well, the thing with an open challenge is you don't know who's going to come out. You don't know how many people are going to try and come out. So I'm going to make my prediction. The person who will face Oseko at PGC Kiwami will be Hard Leviathan.
I like that. I like that prediction. I have a prediction of my own, if you care to hear it.
I would love to.
Twice now we've mentioned the name of a competitor who hasn't been enjoying the same success in PGC that he has elsewhere. Dazzling Mercury was a former world champion, and his journey to winning that world title, Oseko was a major landmark in that. Oseko has since won her first world title, while Dazzling has been...
several others as well.
That's true, that's absolutely true. Yeah, she is a current 3-time champion. Dazzling, you know, he's been having mixed results outside of PGC. He did decently well on Divine Comedy Productions 2.1. I believe he beat Momoko Mercer in a pretty hard-hitting bout. But in PGC, as we've addressed already, he first he lost his world title shot against Izzy Malik, and then against Milk and against Rosa the Giant, two competitors I don't think anyone would have expected to pick up a win over a guy like Dazzling. He's just been dropping wins. It's been unfortunate on his part. I'm not sure what is causing that really, but I think if he was looking to turn his luck around, this bout against Oseko might be a good bet for him.
And then the question would come, can he win? And I don't think he would be able to. However, it is a very good point to make of him trying to re-establish his career.
I have one other prediction actually, and that would lead us nicely into discussing our next match. If you would care to move on.
I would love to. I would love to get this over as soon as possible, so I don't have to be around you any longer.
Excellent. Well, let's not allow anything to get in our way. Let's forge on ahead. The Olympic kickboxer Edie Queen is making her first ever scheduled professional wrestling appearance at PGC, which...
Huge move. Huge get.
Huge it is. I'm not sure anyone would have seen this one coming. You know, she's a big name coming in from another sport. Hard to think of another crossover competitor who has the same kind of fanfare coming into wrestling since, I don't know, maybe Darren Tramble?
It is that would certainly be the best comparison in recent times. It is a huge get, and it's a shocker that she appeared on PGC first, or will appear on PGC first, I should say.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting. If you want to read into it slightly, I'm sure she has a great deal of respect for Corey Galloway. I'm sure she has a great deal of respect for professional wrestling as a whole, so... The fact that she's not, you know, she could just take her talents to over the top, perhaps, to High Point Wrestling, to AES Melee, but the fact that she's focusing on a smaller company to begin with, it feels like she's trying to make a statement that she's not just planning to be a kind of, you know, top billing, a kind of a special attraction. She really wants to be a professional wrestler, which is quite exciting. And again, we don't know her opponent. We know she's scheduled to compete. We know Oseko's scheduled to compete. The two have they've exchanged words before. Edie Queen has expressed her distaste for Osako, and Osako has responded in kind. You know, she didn't take too kindly to the language Edie used when addressing Osako, and specifically addressing Osako's, bringing Osako's family into it, which some feel was a line crossed.
It was certainly a line, and I think they're all cowards for being for saying that the line's crossed.
I mean, I'm willing to agree. Moving on from that, you know, there are any number of options. If we consider the fact that Edie's here, that Osako's here, and that we have Shin Nick Gage showing up as well, you know, there are limitless possibilities. Like, she's called out the likes of Lance Mazzaros, who's a former multiple-time world champion. She's called out Zen, the current High Point Wrestling Women's Champion. Like, any number of people have been like directly antagonized by this woman, who maybe, you know, having seen this match announcement, maybe thinking, yeah, I could get in on that.
The possibilities are certainly endless, along with the quality of the match. Will also, I was going to make a joke about how the quality of the match would be limitless as well, but I don't think that would make sense. I apologize for wasting your time, Jake Gladstone.
I mean, I don't blame you for that. It's easy to get excited. Like, we've seen her compete at the Olympics and stuff. We've seen what she's capable of in the field of Muay Thai, of kickboxing. But this is Edie's first wrestling match. You know, we don't know how well her skills will translate to this world. Maybe she sucks. You know,
maybe she is the worst wrestler on the show.
Yeah, I mean, we're taking a risk saying things like that because she's
she could kick my ass.
Woman with a temper. Oh yeah. No,
she could kick your ass too. She could kick both our asses
at the same time. I'm sure.
Well, I'm sure it'll be a great match, and I'm sure whoever will face Edie Queen will have a tough challenge. Please don't kick my ass.
Yes, please.
My health insurance doesn't go into effect until 2 months from now.
We're in danger. We're in deep danger.
Anyways, let's move on, Jay.
Let's move on to the third of these three mystery opponent matches. That, you know,
God, Corey has no creativity.
I get it. You know, it's a big show. We're pulling out all the stops, going maximum excitement. You know, I don't expect any of these opponents to disappoint. Ludovico Capello. This is his first title defense after having had an unbelievably impressive run in PGC so far.
He beat Dosia Volkolnov. He beat Samuel Trow for the title, and now he's going into Kiwami as champion.
Yeah, no, that's... I mean, you make a great point. It's 2 matches plus a 6-man tag, which he lost. But in those 2 matches, Dostoyev Volkoganov was a match of the year contender, Ludovico versus Dostoyev.
Absolutely.
And then the title match versus Trowell, I believe, was Trowell's first main event.
First main event and first loss, unless you count the nude showcase the PGC put on.
True, that's a good point. And yeah, to your point, Trowell also beat Dostoyev, so they both have this singular big win under their belt going into that match. It's a kind of it's like Mortal Kombat, right? There's a kind of ladder, like they both beat the lower rung and they were on the same rung, and then Ludovico proved himself to be, you know, within PGC perhaps the strongest of the 3, or at least the most able to succeed. You know, he's adapted to the environment very well. He's a really, really skilled fighter.
For my money, he is probably the most dangerous fighter in the company right now.
I think that's true.
Maybe not the best wrestler in the company, but definitely the most dangerous.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. If I were to compare him to somebody, Dominic Williamson has a similar single-minded focus on winning matches, and I think Ludovico really has the potential to become...
a very similar style as well, I believe.
Absolutely, you're right, yeah, both...
very MMA influence.
Yeah, both real kind of crossover talents. Which is as we mentioned, we don't know Edie's opponent. She might be challenging for this title, which would be a very cool match. You know, they both they employ very different MMA-based styles.
It'd be very interesting to see how they would adapt to the Extreme Rules environment that
That's
the
true.
Hardcore title brings.
You raise a great point. Yeah, it's such a unique situation. Like we mentioned Williamson earlier, he has a submission and knockout based title, which is the kind of thing that really shapes itself to an MMA type guy. Ludovico Capello, he's holding a deathmatch type title, which isn't the kind of thing you'd really expect of a wrestler or of a fighter like that.
Definitely not.
So yeah, he's proven he's able to hang with, deathmatch focused, more deathmatch oriented competitors. If it's against someone like Alexis Wellbore perhaps, or, someone similarly suited to the environment, I'm sure will be able to cope. He likes to focus on his own style more than allowing himself to kind of succumb to the bloodlust, really. But someone like, I'm sure, an intelligent wrestler like Wellbore, or maybe intelligent isn't the right word.
Yeah, I would say no. I would disagree with that.
No, but a goal-oriented wrestler like Wellbore might be able to take advantage of his kind of his stubbornness and his single-minded focus on wrestling his match. I want to see what he does to change the perception of that title as much as I want to see how the title influences him.
Yep, I agree. It's definitely, his title reign will definitely go a long way in not just shaping the title's image, but his own career, I believe.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, this could be a definitional thing for Ludovico Capello, and this is the first stop on that journey.
First title defense. He better hope he can. He should hope he doesn't go down as a zero defense champion.
No, yeah, certainly. And speaking of, you love that, don't you? And speaking of first title defenses, Marty Jannetty and Jax, in my opinion, the clear tag team of the year in 2019, have their first tag team title defense against none other than Lance Mazaris' Diamond Foundation, Jacob Cass and Harley Vincent.
This match is so interesting to me. Not just in a wrestling style or wise, because we both know this will be probably, I would say, potentially be the best match of the show.
For sure, yeah, no, I think that's definitely possible.
But what interests me the most about this match is that Jacob Cass is the reason why this match happened. Because on PGC number 2, you remember, he was the one who won that triple threat against Marty and Jax. And that sent them into becoming the tag team they are today.
That's a great point. That's an absolutely great point. Yeah, the amount of history between all the men in this match is really intriguing. Like, Marty and Jax, of course, to start with, they were a team, and then they wrestled against each other, and then they were a team again on a whim, and they lost, and then they started to win. They started to put it together. They started to kind of figure each other out a little more. Meanwhile, Jacob Cass, as you said, the man responsible for getting them together as a team, he's had a little contentious relationship with Harley. Things have been a bit fraught between him and his younger brother.
It certainly doesn't show in the ring, I would say.
No, they're very cohesive, but I feel like there is a tension there on both sides, which they're both focused enough and professional enough not to allow to shine through. But Jacob Cass, it's been observed largely by me. I'm very interested in the dynamic of the Diamond Foundation, but Cass for a long time was Lance Mazaris' golden boy, and then he was kind of shoved aside, and in the interest of Harley Vincent taking the spotlight a little more. And Cass has been a real, he's been a mentor to Harley. He's been a real nurturing figure, but I think there has to be this kind of simmering
resentment.
There has to be, yeah. And I think it really it became evident on PGC 3, I think it was
the main event.
Semi-main event actually. The main event was Marty and Jax versus the Unstoppables, where they lost their first tag title match. But the semi-main was Harley versus Cass, my favorite match in PGC history, because Cass, he hit his signature brainbuster, his finishing move, Jacob's Ladder, couldn't get the job done, and what hold does he apply after that?
The same move that was taught to him by Lance Bizarros.
Exactly right, yeah. No, probably the first move he learned from Lance, probably the first move Harley learned from Lance. That sharpshooter. And that, I think that was a deliberate move on his part. I think there's a reason he went for that. And, of course, as we just mentioned, Cass beat Harley Vincent to become the number one contender to the world title. That was the closest Harley's ever gotten to the world title in PGC. And so their relationship, it spans back years, but in PGC especially, it's been back and forth. They haven't always been on the same side here. And so, yeah, they've worked great as a team in their two matches together, but I really want to see how well the glue kind of holds together here. It's really just, it's incredibly intriguing to me, the entire composition of this match.
What I wonder is what would happen if Harley and Jacob lose, and it's clearly one of their own faults.
Very good.
What would happen then to that team?
Yeah, no, difficult to say. I mean,
I've seen hundreds of tag teams disintegrate because of that. Will they become the same? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell. They both sniffed at the world title. Kaz has wrestled for it twice. Harley's wrestled for it once. The reason Harley hasn't wrestled for it twice is because Kaz beat him, and you got to imagine they both, having been in title contention since the very beginning of this current iteration of the company, you got to imagine they're both, to some degree, they got to be angling to get back into that real top title contention. This is the semi-main event. They're main event talent. Jax and Marcy, similarly, main event talent. Jax has a match at SFDQ against Dostiev, the face of the company, arguably. If he wins that, he's got to be looking at, perhaps something higher than just the tag titles. Marty got the pinfall in the main event of PGC 9. If anyone has a claim to the world title, he does too. And so the ramifications of this match, whoever wins, whoever loses, this is going somewhere. This is an exciting match.
It is arguably the most important long-term effect match on the card.
I would say there's only one match that can possibly contend with that statement, and that match is our main event, and that is Izzy Malik in his third, or perhaps...
It is his second, I believe.
His second world title defense against Bronson Hoskins in his first ever world title challenge.
This match will be... I believe it will be a match of the year candidate.
I think you're right. I think it certainly could. Bronson Hoskins, we don't know a great deal about him. He's kind of flown under the radar until this point, I think, but we do know...
For my money, he is the most underrated man in the business today.
I think you could be right, yeah. I think you could absolutely be right. He's never been pinned. He's only lost one match, which was a ladder match with 3 other guys. He broke Philip Kane's undefeated streak in his wrestling debut. In PGC, he's never lost. And his goal, his mission statement within professional wrestling is to have the perfect match. And I think against a man who could be described as the closest thing wrestling has to a perfect professional wrestler, this is his perfect opportunity to do that.
I agree. Izzy Malik is probably the most perfect specimen I've ever seen in the wrestling ring. Everything he does is calculating and precise. If anyone is going to have a perfect match in wrestling, I believe it will be these two.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wish there was more to say about this match, but it's really just very exciting. I mean, we could talk about the parallels, the fact that Izzy has also only ever lost a single match against 3 other guys. He was not the one pinned in that match. Izzy, has done nothing but win in PGC. Izzy perhaps flown under the radar a little bit too for a while. I don't think he does anymore. I think he's really caught people's attention with this title run, but for a long time he was just C. Revan's right-hand man, and now he's possibly surpassed C. Revan, if that's fair to say.
In terms of accomplishments, I believe he already has.
Yeah, Revan he's never held a world title. He's never main evented a major show like this. Izzy has a lot to prove here, not only for himself, but for the man he considers his mentor. He's not a very prideful man, I don't think. He's
a very quiet man.
Very quiet, very content to let his wrestling do the speaking for him, but in his first Super Show, in his first major main event, this is huge for Izzy Malik. He can't lose here. He can't... what would that say about him if he lost to Bronson Hoskins in the main event of PGC Kiwami, of PGC's first Super Show?
The man who I believe has benefited the most from PGC losing in its first pay-per-view Super Show would be devastating for Izzy, and could call into question many things about his rise.
And just even beyond Izzy, it would completely change the landscape of the company. There'd be a new figurehead. I've said before, I've spoken at length about how Izzy Malik and PGC are synonymous with one another. The one man defines the company defines the man. If Bronson Hoskins, a much more theatrical competitor, a much more, a much less down-to-earth guy, if he wins the title, what does that say for PGC? How will that change things going forward? It's intriguing to think about.
It most certainly is, Jake Gladstone. It most certainly is. I believe... I don't know who's winning. I'm going to be honest. I've given you an answer for every other match. I cannot give you an answer for this one.
Yeah, I don't want to make a prediction here. No, whatever happens, it's going to be, it's going to be the end of a winning streak, of an undefeated streak. I think it's very fair to say that if circumstances had been different, if Bronson had been involved in title contention from day one, if it wasn't for Izzy proving himself in Panic beforehand, I think Bronson might be the one holding the title. Izzy might be the one going in as challenger. It's a very even match. It's possibly Izzy's most even challenge to date.
I would say that's fair to say.
Yeah, we should probably wrap this up fairly soon, but I just want to say, looking at Izzy's history, he's had a real character in the form of Dazzling Mercury, a real, kind of hard-hitting, not a very straight-laced professional wrestler in the form of Jacob Cass, and from there he went to Alice X and Xander Zane, neither of whom are, refined in the same way Izzy Malik is. But Bronson Hoskins is so focused on the game. He's so focused on professional wrestling in all its myriad forms. They're I don't want to say they're two sides of the same coin, because they're very different guys, but in Batman The Dark Knight, when the guy gets his face all burned and he flips the coin and one side of the coin is burnt, but they're both the two different sides of the same coin, but they're very different, but they're still the same coin. That's the situation here. That's what I'm picturing.
What the fuck is Batman?
I'm glad you asked me that, and I'm going to tell you in great detail the answer to that question, but lucky listeners aren't going to be around to hear it, because we're going to wrap things up right now. But thank you all for joining us, and I hope you all enjoyed listening to this, and I hope you'll join us again next time on the next edition of the AES, whatever we name this. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, we said that at the same time.